interview start with Mike Paisano. So give us a bit of a background on you, Mike Paisano.
Well, I'm a movie director of the adult industry kind. Been in the industry for many years. Shoot all kinds of things, regular, straight, odd stuff, kinky stuff, you name it. Done some bits for Hollywood. I've shot a Disney movie of the R-rated kind.
Alright, and what are we going to be talking about today?
Today we're going to be talking about it.
The first or second movie?
The second movie.
So you're going to be breaking it down for us from the point of view of a director?
From the point of view of the director.
Alright, well, just go ahead and I only have a few talking points, so just tell us what you think so far.
Alright, well, first impressions right after I've viewed It, Chapter 2. From the point of the director, I feel like it was losing a little bit of direction for the most part. I felt like it didn't know if it wanted to be a horror movie or a comedy movie or a drama or a sitcom at points. I think I laughed more during the movie than I was even a little bit afraid of the clown. You know, really, what I think it is that they showed the clown too much. I feel as if they had been more scarce with showing the clown, it would have made the clown more scary. But the longer you look at it, it's really not that scary. And the whole scene at the end where he's all like a giant spider or whatever creature he is, he really lost any type of scariness, and then he shrunk down to a small clown baby and went into the trees like an ant. Like he disappeared. So that was all confusing. If it were me shooting it, I probably would have focused a bit more on maybe the feminine parts of the movie. You know, shot a little more of that.
Just get more of the feminine perspective on things.
Yeah, the feminine perspective with the male insertion.
Yes. Well, we're not going to talk about that. We're staying towards just how you would fix the movie if you could, because we all know Stephen King. He had his little kinks. There was some scenes that they left out, which I'm sure you could make hopefully you would use people over the age of 18 to recreate such scenes.
Well, Mike Paisano. Look, I'm going to be real with you. I've done some things I am proud of in the filming world.
I think every director can say that. A long enough career, we all have shame.
I forged some waivers. This is an admittance here. This is not a confession. But if it were me directing the movie, I would have gone fully for it, just to give the crowd a little something to take home. And if I were to fix it, like I said, I'd show the clown a little less, focus a little bit more on the bits.
Speaking of bits, let's change direction here. What did you think about the actors directing? Like, how would you have... did you think they did a good job overall?
The actors themselves?
Yes.
The only guy, I think he played the character Stan. Whatever guy got the knife through the cheek, and then the Richie guy, those two were the best actors in the movie.
You think it's just their talent, or was it the director helping guide them?
I think it was their
the
talent. I think it was the director choosing the right people for the films. I mean, the Richie guy, he looked shitty. He looks like maybe he did a little coke or something. I done coke, so I know, not now, of course, but you see the face lines, and then the Stan guy, he was one of the most real people on that set. Uh, he asked the guy with the mullet, "Who told you to stab me?" You know, he was asking the real questions. He was out there asking. What? Repeat the question.
We're gonna move on. What did you see any plot holes that you would have corrected? Like, was there anything that was unexplained that you would have done better?
Yeah. First off, I don't understand how he actually kills people. Because if he just builds off fear, okay. So first off, I want to say to the alphabet community, don't go to Derry, because they obviously have no tolerance for you there. Come to my studio. I'm in Anaheim, California. I'll get you jobs, doing all kinds of stuff. But back to the point, Mike Paisone, Anaheim, California, adult film industry. I don't understand how he kills, whether they have to be afraid of him for him to be able to kill them, or yeah, I don't know what that deal is. Some of the scenes didn't make too much sense. A lot of adults walking into the middle of the street. I didn't understand that. And
Sorry, do you think that scene where the group is walking down the street of Derry, you think that was just set up for the trailer? Because it had really no impact, and there was no other people to be seen on the street.
I can see that, yes. Also, the clown cuts deep with the insults. The man who had worked so hard to get rid of his gut, he still called him fat. And I don't get it. He wasn't fat anymore. He just tried to call him a fat kid, but the guy probably hadn't had a cupcake in 10 years. You know? What the fuck's the deal with that? He couldn't figure out any other good insults. The scene was hilarious, where the clown was on top of the statue and floated down with balloons and started singing. I was like, is this a musical number now? What was he singing? Something about, I don't know.
I'm not actually sure, sir.
Called him a loser or something. It was more of a comedy than a horror movie, I'll tell you that right now.
A lot of people have been giving the Paul Bunyan scene a lot of grief.
Why?
Would you have included it?
Well, why are they giving it grief?
A lot of people say it's a little cartoony and ridiculous.
The whole movie's cartoony and ridiculous. I mean, in the first 40 minutes, you got a baby-faced creature popping out of a fortune cookie going, just like that, just.
So, in your, as a director, how would you have gone with the film? Would you have kept the more humorous, light tonedness, or would you have gone more like the first movie, dark suspense?
Dark suspense. There were some shots I didn't agree with in the first movie. For private use, you might be able to get away with filming underage children and, that type of stuff, but not when you're going Hollywood. That's not good.
What are you talking about, sir?
Can
you give specifics to which scenes these are?
Well, I don't want to talk openly about it. Mike Paisone has got no affiliation with that movie, but there was a scene where a specific young girl stripped down to a certain level, and she was very sexualized. And even as somebody who views and shoots this stuff every day, it was a little uncomfortable for me as a viewer to be around all the other people. It's different if I were to view it by myself, but being around a bunch of people in a movie theater, let's just say I couldn't go get popcorn for about 10 minutes after that scene without walking awkwardly.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
How would is there any particular scenes that really drove you to think this is a comedy instead of a horror film?
The balloon scene, the scene where the guy gets stabbed in the cheek and then he talks about his mullet. I mean, that was hilarious. I was laughing. Oh, there was quite a few moments. I'm kind of drawing a blank here. It was more fun. I laughed far more than I did get scared. It was the baby face creatures. Those were hilarious. I'm sorry, that was funny. Some of the scenes you could tell that they were using costumes. Either that or it was really bad CGI. The part where I think his name is Stan, whatever kid uses the inhaler, the grown-up version of that guy, when he goes downstairs to the pharmacy, and the weird mummy thing is like giving them the tongue business. That looked really cheesy. I don't know if that was a bad costume or bad CGI, but that was one of the two. I've shot movies with sex dolls that looked more realistic than that. So, the movie was definitely funny.
Okay, we're gonna move on. What, in your opinion, as a director, what did you think about the pacing of the film?
A little slow. I don't think we needed to go through each individual person's whole 10 to 20 minute scene of them reliving their flashback. I mean, I understand it, but there was a lot we could have cut out. You know what I mean?
The runtime of the film has been critiqued. I think it comes in a little over 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and also there was an underlining social justice movement to it that I don't feel like should have been in a Stephen King movie. They talked about bullying and they touched on the whole homosexual subject.
That was brought up actually quite often in the film.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on that?
You know, Mike Paisone's got no... Paisano has no...
Because I know you frequently direct for Wolfie TV.
Yeah, I do. And in fact, you should check out Wolfie TV. But I think that, you know, I have no problem with the LGBTQ, LMNOP, QRX, XYZ community. I shoot movies for them all the time. I'm told that I'm one of the better directors for them, Mike Paisano, Anaheim, California, if you're looking for a job. I don't think it was needed in the movie. I think there could have been a number of other things a bunch of corn-fed hillbillies would have beat up, and on-the-spot murder with like a 13-year-old kid, that was a little far-stretched. I don't think I would have taken that toll, you know. There's 1,000,001 other ways you could have done it.
What do you think about the opening scene? Because it has been said the context of the story was originally further in the past and less tolerant times, but now in 2019, which from what I can tell when I watched the film, that is the current era that it's set in. Does the amount of homophobia and just anti-homosexual rhetoric in the film, does that seem appropriate for 2019?
No.
As it would actually
No.
occur on the street?
No, I don't think so at all. And in fact, you go around, you know, using those those slurs towards sexuality, and I'm sure somebody's likely to give you a busted jaw for that. Even in a small town, I visited several small towns, shot videos in several small towns, done smaller venues in small towns. I don't think that type of rhetoric, I just don't see that happening today. Even if they were from New York and they went to a small town, I just don't... It seemed out of place, is what I'm trying to say.
What did you think about the constant use of violence towards, I believe her name is Beverly, the character played by Jessica Chastain?
It's probably an unpopular opinion, but I believe it was justified. I believe the clown would have more of a reason to kill her than the other characters, simply because she was able to see what he was trying to do. You know, she saw all of their deaths. She had some type of connection with the life circles or circle of life or light bulbs, whatever was going on. She had more of a connection to that, so you know it kind of makes sense that the clown would want to off her before the other jabronis, because there was no need to at that point. You know, he was just waiting for him. He's gonna get him, but I think the information that she was feeding to the other guys helped bring forward the murder of the clown. So, I think the violence. Are you talking about the domestic violence?
Yes.
Oh,
That's part of it.
Well, you know, the truth hurts, and I deal with a lot of, some would say, broken women, and they tend to find themselves in the same position that they were in the broken situation. It seems to me that they kind of feel like they've been in that situation and they can fix whomever it is, or you know, they just always find themselves doing the same thing, expecting a different outcome. So that was no shock to me. That was just real life.
Went deep there. All right, let's move on again to the next talking point.
Did you got somewhere to be? Because this interview was only supposed to be for like 15 minutes.
Just one more question.
Okay.
What did you, how, did you find it clear the extent of the creature's power in it too?
No. I definitely did not. It one was a little weird because he could shapeshift and you know, Mighty Morphin from Power Rangers himself into a bunch of different things. You know, it was kind of like when you watch the Transformers movie, you don't know the extent of their powers. You know, they just keep shooting bullets out of their arms or where they're getting the bullets from. Same thing with this guy. You know, I didn't know if when they, you know, stab him or they beat him up, if he's just playing around like he got messed up. You know, just to give them an ounce of hope and then crush it like that. Or I didn't understand if he was actually getting hurt. They, you know, they touched on that you can only live in the environment you're in or something like that. But to me, that was just kind of that was plot armor. And nowhere did it say that you could verbally accost the clown and make him go smaller. So, yeah, I didn't understand that. I didn't understand what was happening when he was shrinking. And I didn't understand how he was able to put his hand into the beast and pull the heart out. I didn't understand any of that. They didn't really explain it. I mean, did he learn some type of Indian magic where he can do that, or, you know?
That is a good question, because in the actual source material, it derives his powers from the deadlights, which is the 3 glowing orbs, and it gets into a lot of cosmic kind of things, whether there's a space turtle and whatnot. But he derives his power from those. Well, he is and derives his power from those 3 deadlights that float around. He has no real form to destroy, and you have to destroy those lights, which I saw it too, and I don't feel like they properly explained any of that or showed how it was destroyed.
Yeah.
Speaking of, they speak of the boundaries of it, and that the Indian tribe in the story, or the Native American tribe in the story, went past the boundaries of his control. But in the movie itself, we are seeing that he can manipulate and manifest himself far outside of Derry. What did you think about that?
I didn't understand that either. It was kind of like the way that I kind of took that with a grain of salt is that they were in Derry before, so then a part of him went with them. That's the only reason why he was able to get even a bit of control outside. Now, anywhere they're at, you know, just because of a piece of him went with them. You know, the Beverly girl, she stared right down the mouth of the beast. So, you know, there's that. She, you know, part of him may have been with her. The guy who killed himself in the tub, I don't know. He writes a letter at the end, which was kind of a cop out, maybe. I'm not sure, but I don't think he would have any power outside of Derry. I mean, you're talking about an entity here. You're not talking about the actual devil, and he only comes up in Derry because of whatever curse happened on that land or whatnot. So I don't see why he would have power outside. Otherwise, why would he stick to Derry? Why wouldn't he just move on? You know what I mean? When the going gets tough, some punk kids got him last time. Why wouldn't he move on in 27 years?
Good points, good points. The last, this relates to the previous question. The escape from the mental institution. A lot of people are very confused by that, and if that manifestation was truly it, or just in the mind of the, I forgot his name, but the redheaded murderer.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. I was confused about that. It seemed very Walking Dead at that point. A zombie had come out, gave him a knife, and then he was driving around his Trans Am for him as the getaway vehicle. That wasn't explained very well. It wasn't explained very well how a guy had stabbed a knife right into his chest, and he just pulls it out, and then he can go assault the other man in the library, and then take a tomahawk to the head. You figure if you got stabbed in the chest, you can't go to the hospital. You're escaped from the mental hospital, so they'd sell you up the river in a heartbeat. That wasn't explained very well. It wasn't explained very well how some things were figments of their imagination, yet when they came back to the actual story, they were covered in muck, they were covered in goo, they were covered in blood. But it was really just they were thinking it was happening because they were going, this isn't real, this isn't real, this isn't real, and then it would stop.
You're speaking of two specific scenes, correct?
Yeah.
The one in the basement of the
Pharmacy?
The pharmacy.
Right.
And then the incident with Bev, with the blood in the toilet.
Yes. Yeah, both of those weren't explained very well. And that relates back to how does he kill? How does he affect people? Can he only scare you? And then once you're so scared, then he's able to kill you because he can kill you via fear? Or can he just wipe anybody out just because he feels like killing them? That wasn't explained very well at all.
I believe that pertains to the first scene as well, because the first victim was unconscious at the time.
Yeah. He was unconscious floating down the river, and he had nothing to be scared of because he wasn't even there. And the clown still ate him, so.
Alright, what was your overall take of the film? Would you suggest seeing it, or?
I would suggest seeing it if you're in for a laugh. Comedy versus horror movie, I would say it's way more of a comedy. There are some horror aspects to it, but it's far more hilarious than it is scary, so I would recommend seeing it.
What's your opinion of this remake compared to the original? Made-for-TV movie?
The original definitely stuck more to the scary side, whereas this one has elements of comedy, it's got elements of romance, it's got elements of all of it. It kind of felt like I was watching an extension of Stranger Things. So
a show currently produced on Netflix.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Bev romance? Did you find that appropriate or in any way helpful for the modern world to push that agenda?
No, and it really just kind of goes to show how some women really don't understand, how they portray themselves to men. She came off to the chunky kid as being flirtatious and, into him and wanting to, maybe go a little more forward, but we all know that didn't work out. And she only got with him after he was rich and had an 8-pack, So the moral of that story is, boys, if you got a pudge, get rid of it and get a lot of money.